everybody. Welcome. And today we are talking with Marlu Soria. And she is a mindset coach, a life and mindset coach. And she's also a beauty expert who works with women in their 40s, 50s, and above to up-level their authentic expression by empowering their inner and outer beauty. Welcome to Next Level Leadership. I'm your host, Dana Weaver. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marlu. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dana. So great to be here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you're here today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too.
Help us to learn more about you and get to know you better. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks. Like you said, I'm a life and mindset coach as well as a beauty expert. And what I mean by a beauty expert is that I'm also a licensed skin therapist as well as a professional makeup artist. And as a makeup artist, I worked in the entertainment industry in fashion and beauty, primarily doing advertising and marketing campaigns, and also on some pretty famous faces. So it's been a lot of fun. So I have that background. And how I got into the industry was I was just really inspired to work with women who are navigating cancer and to really empower their outer expression, especially through all the different things that can occur while you're undergoing cancer treatment, loss of hair, wanting to how to draw on eyebrows or take care of your skin because, the therapies can be so challenging. And it's just something that has been really fulfilling. So I thought, you know what, let's just have that be what I do in the world, both as a way of service, but then also as a way in which I get to contribute to the community as well as to my own self.
So can you give us an overview of your leadership journey in the industry?
Yes. Well, I'll back it up a little bit. So before I even got into the beauty industry, I was a staff accountant and a pseudo marketing director for our family home business, which was a home healthcare agency. And I loved it. I knew that we did fulfilling work. It was my mom's company, our family business. It was full of family, been with people for 20 something years. And I personally wasn't fulfilled, so I knew. And then once I discovered that working with women and then also empowering beauty on the inside and outside, especially as they're navigating cancer or things like that, that's when I said, I need to shift my life and I want to. And I really wanted to be that contribution. And that also, I'm going to share my age because I think it's important for women as they get older. I was 38 when I discovered that. And so for me, it was a little scary, right? Here you are at 38, you're almost in your 40s, which I think for women can be really challenging. And then to go and leave, a steady paycheck, 4 weeks paid vacation, all the shoes I wanted to buy, to go back to school, go on unemployment, and just really dedicate your life into learning this new skill, that really took something. So, and I also had a really great community and I had a really supportive family. So I think that really made it easier for me to embark on this new journey as, in the beauty industry. So I did. I had a conversation with my mom and I said, this is what I want to do. And she said, go be happy. And also as a first generation child of immigrant parents, that's also very scary too. So for anyone else who may be navigating that conversation, your parents, especially as immigrants, they come in to this country to have a better life for their kids and their families. And then to have someone, who has essentially a financial steady life, it's challenging for them to really be able to be comfortable in that. And then with so much unknown. And I was really, really lucky, and blessed to have that supportive family. So when I did that, I went back to school, and that was another thing too, is to be a school, almost 40 years old with, a lot of 20-year-olds and getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning and going every single day. Especially I went to esthetician school to get licensed as a skin therapist. And that was something. And I did that for 6 months or something, 9 months, every single day. Yeah. So that was how my journey started. And once I became licensed, also at the same time when I was at school, there was a girl who was also studying and training to be a makeup artist. And I'd always loved makeup, but I think in my mind, I just didn't think that that was really a career or that people really made money. I don't know. I mean, I didn't even really think about how makeup artists, really were able to work, like and earn income. I don't know. I just never thought of it. And when I heard that that's what she was doing, I went and I met with the person who trained her, and I started taking classes and I started learning the ins and outs about makeup. I just thought that that would be like a nice little side business to being a skin therapist, because I thought I wanted to do facials, and I did, and things like that. But, that was actually really fun. And I ended up having that be the majority of what I've done in the beauty industry versus, doing skincare.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
When you said that you were a first generation person going back to college from an immigrant family, not only is that scary for you because you're making a bold move, but I could also feel the fear a little bit about your parent wondering, okay, we have something steady for her. We have built all of don't rock the boat, but you felt the fear and you went ahead and did it anyway. And look at you now.
Yeah.
Thanks. They're very important in that leadership journey. So,
thank you.
It's good on you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, and I think sometimes, yes, navigating that can be very challenging. And it is one of the things that I also love to bring into the conversation, because there are a lot of first generation immigrant children, children of immigrants. And, our parents, they work so hard and they have these big dreams. And it seems almost essentially like, you're stopping their dreams for what they want for their kids. So I actually, you just sharing it back at me, it was actually really moving. And I remember that moment, and I can imagine what it must have been like for my mom and my dad.
And I'm sure that they're very proud of you now for all that.
Yeah. Thank you. I hope so. Yeah.
Well, I'm super impressed and I'm enjoying this.
Thanks.
This is good for our listeners to hear and know and learn about different ways that we show up as leaders and our paths to get there.
Yes.
Can you tell me what your biggest inspirations were along the way?
The biggest inspirations were, I'm going to do my best to just hold it all together. But I think one of my favorite things was, especially when I would work with women who are navigating cancer or survivors of domestic violence, when they look in the mirror and they can actually love the woman that's reflected back at them. Because a lot of times, especially when they've been dealing with cancer or the effects of cancer treatments or survivors of domestic violence, they don't often get to look at themselves, or they see someone who maybe, and this is what I would hear sometimes, is who were deserving of the trials that they had to experience. And even though they've done that work, there's still a little bit of that mindset. And that's also why I really became interested in working with the mindset and how people listen and relate to themselves and how they speak to themselves and communicate, show up in the world. So one of the greatest things is when they look in that mirror and they see themselves in a way that they never thought that they could. And that continues to be a really great inspiration for me. I love, love, love working with women where they're maybe stressed out, burned out, they're tired, they don't know how to get from point A to point B, or they just don't feel like they're beautiful, on the inside or out, or how to express it in the world, or have that courage or that confidence. And when they have that moment, and when they start to share their successes in those moments where, and even with no makeup on, I'm not just talking beauty as this physical thing that you put on, but when they start to know themselves as their most authentic expression. That's really what continues to inspire me to keep doing this work after over 15 years.
That inspires me to think about what it's like for them to be able to look in the mirror. And how did you get into that part? I mean, how did you start working with women who were in the midst of cancer and or surviving cancer and those with domestic violence?
Well, it came about when my cousin Jackie, she was 8 years younger than me. She was 26 when she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and it already had metastasized to different areas of her body. We grew up really close. We grew up like sisters. So like our families were intertwined. So it was something. I mean, imagine being 26 years old and stage 4 lung cancer. And one of the things, eventually the cancer metastasized and spread to her brain, and she needed to have daily radiation treatments. And the daily radiation treatments, it caused radiation burn all over her face. And it also stimulated really thick, coarse hair, almost like stubble all over. And she was going to get a manicure. She had normally had like really a vibrant, energetic personality, even through a couple of rounds of chemo, but the radiation and then seeing that physical expression of like the radiation burn, that started to take a toll on her. And she felt sicker, she felt weaker, all that. And she went to go get a manicure, and her regular nail lady said, "Can I just try waxing a little bit?" And she started to wax. And with every removal of the wax strip, she started to reveal fresh, like unblemished, like baby skin. And when Jackie looked at herself in the mirror, she felt like she like almost instantly transformed. She felt stronger. She was more positive. She wanted to be engaged with people again, which was something that she was starting to do. She started to kind of like, just be more quiet, disconnect from others. But all of that changed, and I could tell in an instant. And I just saw that beauty is a mindset, and beauty is a way of being. All this stuff that we see out in the media, on TV and magazines and all of that, that's curated and it's edited. And someone somewhere said that this is beautiful. And because we see it so much and we're bombarded by it, we have a tendency to believe it. We've been conditioned to believe that there's a standard of beauty. And I saw so clearly that there's just not. And that's when I dedicated my life to serving women who are navigating cancer. And I continue to do that today.
That is beautiful and fantastic.
Thank you.
And I was
so flattering.
You're a great storyteller. And so when you were telling the story of each wax paper coming off of her face and the revealing, I could just see it and imagine the smile that came over her face and the look. That is incredibly empowering. And I feel like I know you a lot better now that, you told me that story. So,
thank you. Man, thank you. I love that I get to honor Jackie's life in this way, and she's always right there. So I love that I get to share her story. I love that she continues to live on through me. Excuse me.
No problem. So you mentioned that you've also been a makeup artist for some very well-known people. Tell me a little bit about in the industry a little bit and how you saw leadership within that industry, or how you showed up as a leader.
Yeah, thank you. I think before I really started to work, I wondered, okay, I know that I have this message that I want to share with women. And how do I have that message be heard by as many people as possible? And one of the things that I thought that I would wanted to follow was I wanted to work with someone like Angelina Jolie, some big, huge name, Jennifer Aniston, whatever it happens to be, someone who had a really huge name where I could work with them as a makeup artist, share and have these kinds of conversations, and then using their notoriety, their globalness, have that message be shared and spread through the world. or by association with them. What I soon discovered, maybe after so many years, even really after working on it, was why was I relying on someone else to be that voice? And I discovered and started to cultivate my own leadership. I wanted to be, what's wrong with my voice? My voice is just as valid. My voice can be just heard just by as many people. So that was one of the things that I also started to work on. Was I also discovered personal development work and really, who do I need to be so that I can have this message of cultivating and empowering beauty on the inside and out for others. And I love that that's how I continue to get to do that. And I think, it used to be like no one ever wants to say I don't want to say no one ever wants to say celebrity makeup artist, but it's not a term that I generally use. And have I worked with celebrities? Yes. And I use, just to be really just transparent about it, I use it because it does attract more people. And when I do, but I use it selectively, because I think that there is people, that's just what we're attracted to as humanity. We like to have a little bit of that extra something that not everyone else has exposure to. So I like that I have something. And I think that it's been something that allows me to empower and elevate and push my message out into the world.
Yeah. And it's fantastic that you found your voice and asked yourself that question. Not a lot of people today, in any industry and any job, it doesn't matter what job you hold, not all of us realize how powerful our voices are.
Yeah.
And it could be that somebody's listening to this right now and thinking the same thing, like, wow, why haven't I used my voice for whatever it is that they're doing? What advice would you give for that person that's starting to realize that they could use their voice for something?
Yeah, thanks. I think one of the things that I would suggest is start to journal and start to write, really start to think about, what do I want to use my voice for? Because I think that the clearer that you are on your purpose, your direction, your commitment, who you want to be in the world, the more that you can really take a look at it, the more that you can really hone it down and really get it clear for yourself, the more available you are to the direction and the path that you'll get to go on. Just a moment, please. Sorry. Thanks. I think the clearer that you are, the easier the choices are to make. When you know that, okay, I have a choice A to go down this path, or choice B. Well, choice B kind of looks like where the road that I want to follow, but A has a lot more of that availability. And I can see next the steps C, D, and E once I follow A. But, this other one, I'm not so sure. That, I think, knowing what it is that you want to create and cultivate in the world really makes a difference. So just think about it, journal it, have conversations with the people in your life. I think, even asking them, what do you see me doing? Because a lot of times the people who really love us and know us, they have an idea like, you're really good at this. You should follow this thread, and just follow it to see. Doesn't mean that you have to be committed to it, but there's no harm in following it and exploring it, speculating about it, being in discovery, creating curiosity about it, just to see what else can open up.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. The piece about curiosity, it's been something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. Having curiosity, not only about what's going on around you, but how many of us have curiosity about ourselves?
Yeah.
And why we show up a certain way, or why we do something. And when I say curiosity, and correct me if it's different for you, but having curiosity without judgment, because self-judgment is such a big part of looking inwards towards ourselves. They're probably the worst judges of ourselves out there, but just being curious without the judgment gives us a whole different level of perspective that we never would have had.
Yeah. I don't know like what other practices you have, but one of the things that I work on cultivating is practicing that curiosity with myself and wondering why why am I why is it not as easy for me to take this action, and what's in the way? Like, why am I scared to do that? Or why am I not so confident in this area? And I think, I love that you invited me to this conversation, because normally it's something that, even though I know that I have this message to share with the world, it's not always easy for me to do my own thing and be to go on lives or to create whatever. So I really appreciate when I have partners and people and friends and other, incredible women leaders to partner with and to engage with, because it pulls me up as well. And I think, but also I get to take a look at what's in the way. What are my own blocks? And not from, oh my goodness, I can't do it, I failed again. But really taking a look at what are the gaps, and is it fulfilling on the commitment that I am? That's always one of the questions that I ask myself. Is this action going to further and move forward the commitment that I am? Is it going to fulfill on what I'm creating in the world? And if it is, great, let's take that action. And if it's not, okay, well, what's in the way? Or is it time to release this commitment? I think just figuring out whatever that is can make a real huge difference. But just also about curiosity too, is it's also a great practice when there are things that are not working so well in relationship with others. Maybe like, and I love the non-judgment, that you were talking about, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't know, there's something wrong with that person, or why are they this way, or I just can't stand them, or blah, blah, blah. But if I can just ask myself, well, I wonder why they're that way. And looking for that compassion. I think curiosity and compassion, you start to discover that compassion, and it makes us less separated when we can discover and find whatever that compassion is for another person, especially when we don't understand them. So I love that you brought that piece into it. Do you have a practice? Oh,
practice. I would call it a practice, but I've been practicing trying to look at things from a perspective of just curiosity. For example, when I first started in my new business, I went and spoke with a group of people who I had worked with previously in my previous working career. And when I left that conversation, I was thinking through, I had a weird feeling in my chest, and then I was thinking through all of the things that I did wrong or what I should have done right. And I realized at that moment that I needed to be a little bit curious about, okay, why am I feeling that? What is that feeling? What's that even saying, or what is it trying to reveal to me? And so I try to ask myself that question as much as I can. What is it revealing to me? How might this be in a way of me showing up a certain way? Kind of like what you just said a little.
Yeah.
I'm trying to ask more and more of those questions, but I'm one of those people that in the past would ask myself, well, why did I show up this, not why did I show up, but shame on me for showing up that way. I knew better than that. I know how to act, and why didn't I act?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think that through that practice, I'm starting to have that compassion for myself that I wouldn't have had when I was younger. And that I wouldn't have had when I was. So yeah. Thank you for asking that question.
Of course. I think that's so important for women, especially. I think, like, for the most part, I mean, I'm so grateful to be, my age at this time in life, because there's now an opportunity for women to really create their own leadership, their own a new way of women to be in the world. We're really, there's been a lot of work done in, breaking free from like the patriarchal society, and there's still a lot more work to do. And I don't know that, women you know, we've been conditioned by and inherited conversations that our moms had, and our moms, and big sisters and aunties and grandmas and all that kind of stuff, when women were related to very differently by men in society, really, and in the past, very much still carrying a little bit of that, property mindset. And thank goodness for who we get to be now, but we're also still in that transition. I think that we are the women of transition. And it really does take us being uncomfortable to stand up, to be the women who will birth the leaders, the feminine leaders and the female leaders, whatever language. I don't mean like feminine in that way, but the women leaders of the future. So, because by us being uncomfortable in doing that work, using our voices, creating and setting boundaries with love and compassion, and being the full expression of womanhood that we get to be, but also showing up like the leaders that we were also divinely destined to be as well. So it's such a rich time. It's not by any means comfortable, but I think it's a really great and rich time to be a woman these days.
I couldn't agree more. That was a mic drop moment, honestly. Looking back and then looking forward, that was beautiful. I want to switch gears just a tiny bit.
Sure.
In that we were talking about you serve women 40, 50 and above. And in this time of change in women leadership and this uncomfortableness that we're in, how is that showing up with women who are aging from your perspective?
Great question. I think very much also in just what we were talking about, like, the inherited conversations, like I know that there are like women like in my mom's age, like the baby boomers, things like that, where they thought they always had to wear lipstick. They had to look and present themselves a certain way so that they would be desirable by men, so that their financial health and well-being was taken care of. I think that that's very much like part of the conversation. So when I say 40s and 50s and 60s, it's because, I love to work with women who have been conditioned and experienced in that mindset. As far as it goes for aging, how I utilize my beauty expertise is there are a lot of changes that are also happening in the body, hormonal changes, the way in which also this conditioning plays into it. So empowering how we create and recognize and cultivate our own unique expression of beauty, and that it isn't one size fits all. Not everyone really enjoys wearing makeup. Not everyone enjoys doing their hair. Not everyone gets stuck on, what am I like me? Like right now, like, we were talking about hair and earlier, like that's something for me. It's like I'm still like discovering how do I want to express myself through my hair. But that's my journey, and I have friends who don't really care about what it is, or they know for sure they are not going to go natural, but yes, how do we celebrate and honor that? So I love that. And then also, what is this whole aging thing? I recently just saw this really great article in Glamour magazine with Jamie Lee Curtis, and she was talking about pro-aging. She hates the term anti-aging, which I agree with. What's wrong with aging? I think because we also, especially in America, have really been immersed in this youth culture, and that there very much is a beauty standard. And that's a lot of what we see on social media, in the media, on TV, magazines, all of that. It's so celebrated to look a certain way, have a certain body type. And that aging doesn't necessarily have a place in that. So we're always trying to get into this mindset of like anti-aging so that we can continue to be in this youth culture for as long as possible. And what I'm out to create with women is how can we be positive about aging and maybe shifting the language just a little bit. So no longer using anti-aging because that doesn't really empower what we're up to, but how can we age gracefully? How can we be pro-aging? I had a friend who said, why can't we just be aging? Why can't we just, and not have it mean anything? Why can't it be neutral? And I think ultimately I would love that to be the place where we get to. And like we were talking about, that we're in that transition period. I think having a language that really empowers what we're up to, aging gracefully, because I want to age gracefully. I mean, I just do. And I want to be positive and and proactive in the way in which I express myself, both outwardly and inwardly, especially as I age.
Beautiful. That is beautiful.
Have you had thoughts about it? Have you had thoughts about aging or anything?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts about aging, what happens as we get older, and what we need to shed, like, this constant youth and this constant dying of hair and stuff like that. I mean, I was a big proponent of that, but now you can see I'm starting to let it go because I find such beauty in that, and I'm starting to see beauty in myself with this color versus trying to keep my natural color from when I was a kid. And I also look at women who are holding on to that don't have natural color. I think, what is it that they're trying to hide, or what is it that they don't want us to see? And I think it's also an expression as we age, and we age naturally. It's an expression of who we are evolving to be and what we're learning about ourselves. And, I'm just so thrilled that I can look on social media these days and there's people celebrating older people. There's less jokes about older people. There's, we're anybody that's over 100, we're just like, that's fantastic. And what helped them to get there, and how do they see themselves? And as we're in this transition that you were talking about, the age of transition, what will aging look like in 10 years, in 20 years? Will we start respecting our elders in ways that we never did?
Yes.
Or maybe many years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is definitely something that's so important and really needs to, it is a conversation that needs to be cultivated more. Like that whole thing about, respecting and like honoring and loving like the aging process. And I will say one thing, if I may, about like, when people like they start to dye their hair, and, whether it's like their natural color previously or whatever, it's what if that's how they feel most beautiful? If there's like that one less thing that they don't have to be concerned about, or that it makes them just feel really vibrant and great to have this one color, or shade of hair. And because I know plenty of people who they just feel more comfortable, even if they know that they're 100% gray, underneath, or silver underneath. I like to call it silver. It just makes it feel more luxurious to me, which I'm all about too. And
Yeah,
the luxurious experience. So silver, and so maybe that's just the way that they choose to express their unique beauty as well.
Well, I appreciate that perspective. That's good.
Yeah. And also you have young daughters that we get to, go through this journey with, and they're always watching us. I know that I'm very conscious about the young women in my life, even when they're in their 30s. And because I know that the way in which I relate to menopause and this menopausal journey is very distinct from how my mom related to hers. Very quiet. There wasn't a whole lot said. And I think that the more that I can make it not such a scary phase in life, this really extraordinary phase in life, because there's a lot of things that get completed and a lot of things that get started at this phase. But if I can show up and be like really positive and vibrant and welcoming and honoring and powerful in this phase, hopefully that there are the women that are in their 30s and 20s and teens who maybe get to witness me and get to witness us. And they're like, oh, that's not so scary. What am I worried about? And maybe they won't be so, they won't feel like there's such a need to hold on to that youth culture.
That's beautifully said. Beautifully said. And the fact that you are conscious that people are watching you, and you are leading the way is so important. And I hope that the people that are watching this today, the women that are aging, but even some of the younger women that might be watching this, that people do watch you, and you are continually growing and learning, and you're setting the example for the next generation. Yeah.
That's the game plan, right? What are we going to do with this one great life?
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is what I get to do with it. So, yeah. And I love that you get to do with it what you're doing. I love that you're empowering leaders. I love that you're creating the opportunity for leadership and having this growth and leadership mindset available to so many people. And I love everything that you bring, especially as, inside the conversation about aging. It's so important. I don't know that we talk about it enough, and I love that we're getting to do so. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I agree. I think that that's conversation could really go on forever, but we are kind of coming up to the end. And there's a couple questions or a couple things I want to make sure that we get in there. One is, do you have any questions for me, maybe that you would like to know about me, or are there any questions that I didn't ask you that you really wanted to be able to talk about today?
No, I mean, I think what I would love to ask you is, like, what makes you so passionate about creating and cultivating and empowering leadership in the world?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I and other people that I know, it's not solely myself, but I've seen people in situations where their manager or the leaders of their companies or people like that, they don't try to cultivate the people underneath. And I've been that person before, where I thought I was trying to cultivate the people and help them grow, but I wasn't really doing it. And I've had opportunities over the past, 5 or 10 years where I've been able to look at that from a little bit different perspective. And I realized that, people are watching us, and we need to look in so that we can help serve those other people. I think that it's really powerful that you brought up earlier how people watch us. And there are certain people out there that people watch more than others. And I feel like there's a responsibility on those people, and a responsibility on all of us to help bring others up, help bring others along. And leadership, for me, it's a very, very common word, but I really want to impact the lives of people in the workplace, specifically in my niche in aging services, because if we don't have the right people working in our field, and we don't have people who want to come work in our field, who is going to care for the older person, especially when I get there. I'm
Right.
closer than I ever was, but I'm still a ways off. And I want to make sure that we have good, qualified, passionate leaders to care for our older people. And that includes caring for the people not only in our care, but the people that we serve underneath or around us. So that's where my passion kind of comes from there. I want to make an impact, and I don't want it to look like it used to.
I love it. And how, like, in my world, how I see that is, I love that this is your unique expression of beauty. Like, I love that in cultivating and creating and nurturing this leadership, you're just continuing to grow and nurture beauty in the world in the way in which you are passionate about it, the way in which you want to express it. And I don't know, it makes my heart feel really good. So thank you for everything that you do.
Well, and thank you for everything that you do. I'm just in this short conversation, I've been very enlightened by everything that you say. And you are one of those people that people watch. From the moment that I even came in contact with you, I always watched what you do. And you hold yourself with such poise, so your beauty definitely radiates out, and people want to know more. I know that the people watching this are going to want to know more about it, or if they maybe want to work with you or learn more about what you have to offer, um, how do they get a hold of you, and what kinds of services do you offer?
Thank you. You can reach out to me. I'm across all social media platforms at Marlu Soria. I know that you'll probably link it somewhere. You can feel free to send me an email. And I do offer complimentary radiant beauty sessions where let's have a conversation about there's something that you're really struggling with or that you're curious about and you want to really engage in this conversation. And if you wanted to continue to take it further, we can see what it looks like to do more work together. I think social media is always really great to be able to share our voices in that way. So feel free to reach out to me anytime via that way. I'm always open.
That's great. We will put your information in the note so that people have access to that. And I hope that those of you that are watching have enjoyed the conversation as much as I have, and that you take the opportunity to reach out to Marlu and find out a little bit more about her. And for the ladies that are looking for feeling beautiful, like we talked about, she's a great person for that. So I hope that you take the opportunity to reach out to her as well in that time. Thank you so much, Marlu, for being part of our show today, and just all the mic drop moments that you had. We're going to walk away feeling beautiful, and I hope that you all join us next time. If you really enjoyed this conversation, give us a follow, a like, all of the things, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dana.